I never thought I'd be writing a post like this. My wife Deborah, 26F, and I have been married for 3 years, but our story goes back much further. We first met at a local animal shelter where we both volunteered. I had been going there for about a year, finding it a great way to de-stress after long days at my graphic design job. Deborah started volunteering a few months after I did, and from the moment I saw her, I was intrigued. She had this vibrant energy about her, always chatting with the other volunteers and cooing at the animals. Her long brown hair was usually tied back in a messy bun, and she wore these thick framed glasses that somehow made her blue eyes stand out even more. I remember thinking she looked like she'd stepped out of a quirky indie movie. Our first real conversation happened over a litter of kittens. I was cleaning their cage, and Deborah came over to help. We got to talking about our favorite animals, and before I knew it, 2 hours had passed. She told me she worked as a social media manager for a small eco-friendly company, and her eyes lit up when she talked about their mission to reduce plastic waste in oceans. I was impressed by her passion and knowledge about environmental issues. Growing up, my family had always been pretty environmentally conscious. We recycled, used reusable bags, that sort of thing. But Deborah took it to another level. She told me about how she'd organized beach cleanups in college and even helped start a community garden in her hometown. Over the next few weeks, we started timing our volunteer shifts so we'd be there at the same time. We'd walk dogs together, swap stories about the cats, and gradually, our conversation started to extend beyond the shelter. Deborah told me about her dreams of someday starting her own eco-friendly marketing agency. I shared my hopes of one day opening my own design studio. About a month after we met, I finally worked up the courage to ask her out. We went to a vegan cafe she recommended. I wasn't vegan, but I was willing to try it for her. The date was perfect. We talked for hours about everything from our favorite books to our childhood pets. Deborah told me about growing up in a small town and how she'd always dreamed of moving to the city. I shared stories about my large, noisy family and how I was the first one to move away for college. Our relationship progressed quickly after that. Within 6 months, we were talking about moving in together. My lease was up, and Deborah suggested we look for a place together. I was hesitant at first, it seemed fast, but everything with Deborah felt right, so I agreed. We found a cozy apartment with a small balcony where Deborah immediately started a herb garden. Living together was an adjustment, but a good one. I loved waking up to the smell of the fair trade coffee Deborah always bought, and coming home to find her curled up on our second-hand couch, working on her laptop with one of her favorite documentaries playing in the background. A year into our relationship, I proposed. It wasn't a grand gesture. Deborah had always said she preferred simple and meaningful over flashy. I took her back to the animal shelter where we met, and as we were playing with a litter of puppies, I pulled out the ring. It was a simple band made from recycled gold with a small, ethically sourced diamond. Deborah's eyes welled up with tears as she said yes. Our wedding was small and intimate, just close friends and family. We held it in a local park and asked guests to donate to the animal shelter instead of giving gifts. My parents adored Deborah from the start. My mom especially loved how Deborah would always help in the kitchen during family dinners, swapping recipes and chatting about the latest eco-friendly products she discovered. Deborah's parents seemed to like me too, although they were a bit more reserved. They had divorced when Deborah was in high school, and I got the sense that it had been messy. Deborah didn't talk about it much, just saying that it had been a difficult time but that she was closer to both of them now because of it. Throughout our relationship, Deborah always emphasized the importance of honesty and open communication. She often talked about how her ex-boyfriend had cheated on her during college, and how that experience made her value trust above all else. I respected that and made sure to always be upfront with her about everything, from small things like if I accidentally shrunk one of her sweaters in the wash to bigger things like when I was considering changing jobs. Last year, we decided to start trying for a baby. Deborah was over the moon about the idea of becoming a mother. We even started a YouTube channel documenting our journey to parenthood. Deborah came up with the idea, saying it would be a great way to connect with other couples going through the same thing. We shared tips on fertility, healthy living, and our experiences as a couple preparing for this new chapter in our lives. I was a bit camera shy at first, but Deborah was a natural. She'd plan out our videos, research topics to discuss, and edit everything herself. The channel gained a decent following, and we enjoyed interacting with our viewers. Deborah would spend hours responding to comments and messages, offering support and advice to other couples struggling with fertility. Everything seemed perfect until about 2 months ago. I was working late one night, trying to finish a project for a big client. It was a rebranding job for a local business that was expanding nationally, and landing this client could mean big things for my career. Around midnight, I realized I had left some important files on my home computer. I called Deborah to ask if she could send them to me, but she didn't pick up. I figured she was probably asleep, so I decided to head home quickly to grab the files myself. When I got home, I noticed Deborah's car wasn't in the driveway. It was strange because she usually goes to bed early, especially since we'd been trying for a baby. She was always talking about how important sleep was for fertility. I entered the house, and it was dark and quiet. I went to our home office to get the files I needed, and that's when I noticed Deborah's laptop was open on the desk. I'm not proud of what I did next, but something felt off, and my curiosity got the better of me. I looked at her screen and saw she was logged into a dating app. My heart sank. I clicked through her profile and messages, each revelation more painful than the last. Not only was Deborah actively using this app, but her profile contained information that contradicted everything I knew about her. She claimed to be single, childless, and working as a marketing executive for a large corporation. Her bio mentioned loving to travel and party, things Deborah had always said she wasn't interested in because of the environmental impact and her desire to live a more settled life. I scrolled through her messages, feeling sick to my stomach. She had been talking to multiple guys, arranging meetups, and even sexting with some of them. The oldest messages dated back to before we were even married. There were countless conversations, each one feeling like a fresh betrayal. One conversation stood out. It was with a guy named Alex. They seemed to know each other well, discussing inside jokes and making plans for the weekend. Deborah had told him she was looking forward to their usual Saturday night fun. The last message was from earlier that evening, confirming plans to meet at a bar downtown. I was in shock. I couldn't reconcile this version of Deborah with the woman I thought I knew and loved. The Deborah I knew spent her Saturday nights cuddled up on the couch with me, watching nature documentaries or planning our next beach cleanup volunteer day. She wasn't the type to go bar hopping or meet strange men from the internet. With shaking hands, I copied some of the evidence to my phone, not sure what I was going to do with it yet. Then I heard the front door open. I quickly closed her laptop and pretended to be focused on my own computer. Deborah walked in, dressed up in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. She was wearing a tight black dress and heels, her hair and makeup done perfectly. When she saw me, her face went pale. She started stammering, trying to come up with an explanation, but I just held up my hand and showed her what I had found on her laptop. The next few hours were a blur of tears, shouting, and accusations. Deborah admitted that she had been living a double life our entire relationship. She confessed that she had never worked for an eco-friendly company, that was just a cover for her real job at a large marketing firm, which she thought wouldn't impress me. The cheating ex-boyfriend story was made up to make herself seem more relatable and trustworthy. She begged me to forgive her, saying she loved me and that all the guys from the app meant nothing. She claimed she just craved the excitement and attention, but that I was the one she wanted to be with. I was too hurt and angry to process any of it. I packed a bag and left to stay with my brother. It's been 2 weeks now, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything. Our friends and family are shocked, and our YouTube followers are wondering why we've suddenly stopped posting. I haven't decided what to do yet, but I know I can't just forgive and forget. The level of deception is too deep, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust Deborah again. I guess I'm writing this post because I need advice. How do I even begin to deal with this situation? Has anyone else experienced something similar? I feel like my whole life for the past 4 years has been a lie, and I don't know where to go from here. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It really helped me gain some perspective on the situation. After spending a week at my brother's place, I decided I needed to confront Deborah and get the full truth. I moved back into our house, but I slept in the guest room. Deborah seemed relieved that I was back, but I made it clear that this wasn't a reconciliation, I just wanted answers. Over the next few days, we had long, painful conversations where Deborah revealed the extent of her deceptions. It turns out, almost everything about her was a lie. She didn't volunteer at the animal shelter, she was there as part of a court-mandated community service for a DUI she got 2 years before we met. Her passion for animal rights and environmental issues? All fabricated to impress me. The job at the eco-friendly company was entirely made up. In reality, she worked as a junior account manager at a large marketing firm. She said she lied about her job because she thought I wouldn't be interested in someone who worked for a soulless corporation. When I asked her about all the details she'd shared about her supposed eco-friendly work, she admitted she'd researched it all online, memorizing facts and figures to make her lies more convincing. But the lies went even deeper. Deborah confessed that she had been married before, for a brief 6 months when she was 22. She had hidden this from me because she was ashamed of how quickly the marriage had fallen apart. Her ex-husband, Tom, 30M, had caught her cheating, which led to their divorce. As Deborah told me about her previous marriage, more lies unraveled. The small town she claimed to be from? She'd never lived there. She'd grown up in the city, in a wealthy suburb. Her parents hadn't divorced messily when she was in high school, they were still happily married. The whole backstory she'd created was designed to make her seem more relatable and down to earth. I asked about the vegan lifestyle she'd introduced me to, the documentaries she was always watching, the beach cleanups she claimed to have organized. Deborah broke down, admitting that it was all part of the persona she'd created. She'd never been vegan before meeting me, had never organized any environmental events. She said she'd chosen that personality because she thought it would appeal to me. As for the dating app and her double life, Deborah claimed it started as a way to network for her job. She said she created a profile that she thought would appeal to potential clients in the corporate world. But over time, she got addicted to the attention and the thrill of leading a secret life. I asked her about our plans for a baby, and if that had all been a lie too. Deborah broke down at this point, admitting that she had been taking birth control pills in secret the entire time we were trying to conceive. She said she wasn't ready for a baby but didn't know how to tell me. The fertility tips she shared on our YouTube channel? All researched online, never actually put into practice. The YouTube channel, which had been a source of joy for me, turned out to be just another part of her deception. Deborah confessed that she saw it as a way to boost her personal brand for her marketing career. She never really wanted to share our life, it was all about gaining followers and potentially lucrative sponsorships. I asked about Alex, the guy she had been messaging the night I discovered everything. Deborah hesitated before admitting that Alex wasn't just some random guy from the app. He was a coworker, someone she'd been having an on and off affair with for years, even before we met. The usual Saturday night fun wasn't just a casual meet-up, it was a long-standing arrangement. Throughout these conversations, Deborah kept apologizing and begging for another chance. She promised to change, to be honest from now on, and to be the person she had pretended to be. But with each new revelation, I felt more and more distant from her. The woman I loved had never really existed. I've decided to file for divorce. The trust between us is completely shattered, and I don't see how we can rebuild it. I've contacted a lawyer and started the process. Deborah didn't take the news well. She alternates between begging me to reconsider and lashing out in anger, accusing me of giving up too easily. I've also decided to come clean to our YouTube followers. I posted a final video explaining the situation in broad strokes, apologizing for the deception, and announcing the end of the channel. The response has been overwhelming, with many followers sharing their own stories of deception and offering support. My family and true friends have been incredibly supportive. My brother, in particular, has been a rock through all of this. He's helping me look for a new apartment so I can move out of the house I shared with Deborah. It's painful to think about leaving the home we built together, but I know it's necessary for my healing process. It's been a tough month, but I'm starting to see a way forward. I know the divorce process won't be easy, especially given Deborah's unpredictable behavior, but I'm committed to moving on and rebuilding my life on a foundation of truth. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and the situation has taken some unexpected turns. The divorce proceedings are underway, but they've been complicated by Deborah's erratic behavior and some surprising revelations. First, about a month ago, Deborah's ex-husband Tom, 30M, reached out to me. He had seen our final YouTube video and recognized Deborah. Tom shared his own experience with Deborah's deceptions, which eerily mirrored my own. He told me about how Deborah had created a completely false persona when they met, claiming to be a struggling artist when she was actually from a wealthy family and working in marketing. Tom warned me that Deborah might try to manipulate the divorce proceedings and advised me to be cautious. Tom's warning proved prescient. Deborah initially agreed to an amicable split, but she quickly changed tactics. She hired an aggressive lawyer and is now contesting the divorce, claiming that I was emotionally abusive and that she only created the dating profile because she felt neglected in our marriage. It's frustrating to see her spinning new lies, but I'm trying to stay calm and let my lawyer handle it. To complicate matters further, Deborah announced on social media that she's pregnant. She claims the baby is mine, conceived during our last month together. Given her history of lies, I'm skeptical, but I've told my lawyer that I want a paternity test as soon as it's safely possible. The timing of this announcement feels suspiciously convenient, especially considering she had been secretly taking birth control throughout our marriage. The pregnancy announcement has divided our friend group and extended family. Some believe Deborah and think I'm abandoning her in her time of need. Others, who know the full story, are supporting me and questioning the convenient timing of this pregnancy. It's been hard to see people I thought were my friends turn against me, but it's also shown me who my true supporters are. On the work front, I've thrown myself into my graphic design projects. The client I was working on when I discovered Deborah's deception was impressed with my work despite the personal turmoil, and they've since referred me to other big clients. It's been a welcome distraction and a source of stability in this chaos. I'm grateful that at least one aspect of my life is going well. I've also started individual counseling to help process everything that's happened. It's been helpful in dealing with the anger and betrayal I feel, and in rebuilding my self-esteem. The therapist has been particularly useful in helping me recognize and avoid Deborah's manipulation tactics. One positive development is that I've reconnected with an old friend from college, Emily, 27F. She reached out after hearing about my situation from a mutual friend. We've been talking regularly, and her support has been invaluable. She's reminded me of who I was before I met Deborah and has been encouraging me to rediscover my old hobbies and interests. As for the house, Deborah refused to move out, so I found a small apartment. Moving out was hard, it felt like admitting defeat in a way, but it's also been freeing. I'm slowly making the new place feel like home, and it's nice to have a space that isn't tainted by lies and betrayal. The legal battle ahead looks like it's going to be long and difficult. Deborah's pregnancy claim has complicated things, and her lawyer is pushing for a significant settlement. My lawyer assures me we have a strong case, especially with the evidence of her infidelity, but it's still a stressful situation. Despite all this, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. This experience has shown me how strong I can be, and I'm determined to come out of this a better, wiser person. I'm focusing on rebuilding my life one day at a time, surrounding myself with honest, supportive people, and looking forward to a future free from deception. Update 3, it's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm finally starting to feel like I'm coming out on the other side of this ordeal. The divorce is finalized, and I can now share the full story of what happened. The paternity test results came back, and as I suspected, I'm not the father of Deborah's baby. It turns out the father is Alex, the co-worker she'd been having an affair with. When confronted with the test results, Deborah finally admitted to her lies and agreed to an uncontested divorce. The truth about her pregnancy also came out. Deborah wasn't actually pregnant when she made the announcement. She had lied about it in a desperate attempt to stop the divorce. When she realized she couldn't keep up the charade, she claimed she had a miscarriage. It was a new low, even for her. With the pregnancy lie exposed, most of the friends and family who had sided with Deborah came around and apologized to me. It's been a mix of vindication and sadness. I'm glad the truth is out, but it's painful to see how many people were deceived. The divorce settlement was largely in my favor. Deborah's lies and infidelity, once fully exposed, left her with little leverage. I got to keep most of our shared assets, including the house, which I've decided to sell. I don't want to live in a place with so many bad memories. On a brighter note, my graphic design career has really taken off. The clients I worked with during the worst of the divorce drama have become long-term contracts, and I've even hired 2 junior designers to help with the workload. It feels good to be throwing myself into work I enjoy and seeing success. My friendship with Emily has deepened over these months. We've started dating, taking things slow and being very open with each other about our feelings and expectations. It's refreshing to be in a relationship built on honesty from the start. I've also picked up some old hobbies I had abandoned during my marriage. I've joined a local hiking group and have been going on weekend trips, rediscovering my love for nature and photography. It's been great for my mental health and has helped me meet new, genuine people. As for Deborah, I've heard through mutual friends that she's moved to another city to start fresh. Part of me hopes she's genuinely trying to change and be a better person, but I'm also glad to have that chapter of my life firmly closed. Looking back, I can see how I missed or ignored red flags in our relationship. But I'm not beating myself up over it. Instead, I'm using it as a learning experience. I'm more aware now of the importance of trust and honesty in relationships, and I'm better at spotting inconsistencies in what people say and do. To anyone going through a similar situation, I want to say that it does get better. It's a long, painful process, but staying true to yourself and surrounding yourself with supportive people really does help. I'm not glad this happened, but I'm proud of how I've handled it and excited about the future for the first time in a long while.